This is Eat, Sleep, Invest, the marketing podcast for real estate investors to get more deals.
Well, there's a lot of people that don't understand securities laws, so they either, don't know, don't care, in denial. We have a saying, there's 4 kinds of people that don't follow securities laws: those that don't know, don't care, in denial, or in jail. And, so you want to make sure that you understand securities laws so you understand what they have to be doing in order to legally invite you into their deals. Because somebody who's doing an illegal offering is putting the entire offering at risk. If they get called out by a regulator or another investor sues or something like that, they're going to suspend your distributions and use your money to pay their legal fees. So you want to make sure that they, first of all, are doing it legally. One of the ways you can read my book. There's a chapter. The last chapter is devoted to passive investors, just to make sure that you understand what you should be looking for, but all the other chapters are about what these people should be doing. So if you read it, you'll have a better understanding of what to look for in their offering docs. There should be a very prescribed set of offering documents, a disclosure document that describes all the risks, a subscription document where the investor gets to certify that they've understand the risks and can afford to lose the money. And then we're looking for this investment contract, which is going to be the operating agreement or the promissory note that's going to be the contractual agreement between the investor and the sponsor or the syndicator.
Okay. Now, what's an exempt offering?
So that just means that when you're selling securities, so once we've determined you're either selling promissory notes or you're selling passive interests in a company, those are called investment contracts. So when somebody has they're offering an investment of money in a common enterprise with an expectation of profits based solely on the efforts of the promoter, that's called an investment contract. So then we know investment contracts are listed in the definition of securities. So notes or investment contracts are the typical thing that people are selling in the real estate realm. And so once we know they're selling securities, then that triggers having to comply with securities offering rules, which number one is you either have to register the offering, which is getting pre-approval from regulators, or you have to qualify for the exemption. And to qualify for the exemption, you got to figure out what exemptions there are that apply to your offering. The way to do that is to talk to a corporate securities attorney who's going to help you understand, based on what you're trying to accomplish, where the property is, where you are, where all the investors are. We'll ask you a few targeted questions, and once we know the answers to that, we can say, first of all, you're not going to want to register a real estate offering because it's going to take too long. It's going to take, 6 months or a year to get it approved, and it's going to take, piles of money, and you don't have that time when you've got a deal under contract. So you're going to have to follow an exemption. So based on what you tell us during our initial interview, we'll be able to figure out which exemption is appropriate for you. Most of our clients start out with Regulation D Rule 506B, and that's a federal exemption that allows you to raise money from an unlimited number of accredited investors, up to 35 non-accredited but sophisticated investors, but you can't find it through any means of general advertising or solicitation. The way to prove that you didn't advertise or solicit is to be able to demonstrate that you had a pre-existing substantive relationship with those people that predated your offering. And then the substantive part means you have to have had a conversation with them about their financial suitability to be in your offerings. Are they accredited? Are they sophisticated? Have they invested in other stuff before? You're going to hold property for 5 to 7 years. Is that going to work for them? And, here's the kinds of return you're offering. Is that within their investment guidelines for their own investment guidelines? So that's the most common exemption. 506C, Regulation D Rule 506C is another very common exemption that we write offerings for. And that one is, it still allows an unlimited amount of money to be raised, but does allow the syndicator to advertise freely. But the only people that can invest in that are people who are verified accredited investors. So they actually have to go through a verification process to prove that they either have the net worth or the income requirements to be an accredited investor. And every state has its own set of rules. So if somebody wanted to do an offering that was all contained within one state where they were, where the property was, where all the investors were, then they could follow an intrastate offering rule for that specific state.